question that we must ask ourselves is, what stories define my reality? Because remember, our reality is not just something that we perceive, it's something we project. There's a great story of two people coming across ducks crossing a road, and one woman is astounded by the beauty of the light reflecting off the duck's feathers, and she takes a moment to thank God for this beautiful sight on her way to work, whereas the other vehicle is angry and honking their horn, and as soon as the ducks are gone, she zooms off. Two people came across the same exact occurrence, but they had completely different perspectives of it. So when we understand that concept, we must realize that our reality is shaped by stories. Now, where do our stories come from? A lot of them come from our past. They come from events that happened, perceptions about those events that we created, and then we begun to identify and recreate. And the more that we live with that story, we of course project that reality, so then we get more evidence. A really easy example, one that many people face, is a story that, they're not worthy in some regard. So maybe somebody never feels like people pay enough attention to them. So of course, when they go to a party and they're trying to assert themselves into a conversation, they do it with this underlying story of, I'm not enough and nobody ever pays attention to me. Well, what does that do to our confidence? Of course, it lowers our confidence. Well, when we lower our confidence and try to assert yourself into a story, how does that come off? People don't like listening or following somebody who lacks confidence. So then the results of that situation are generally that the person didn't get the attention that they were seeking. The results reflect the belief of what's about to happen. So we tend to tell ourselves, well, this always happens to me, or I always do this, I always mess it up. A lot of people have self-defeating tendencies. Most people, as soon as something's going really good for them, they freak out because their past has proven that they're not worthy of anything good. So ultimately, this good is going to come to an end here soon. So they start worrying and they self-sabotage. People do it all the time in relationships. People do it all the time in business. We self-sabotage to reflect our inner belief of our story. However, they're not all negative. I had a story for a very long time. I still try to maintain it because it's a good story, that I have great beginner's luck. Ever since I was little, I was always like the top first year. So for example, when I was a swimmer, I was the fastest young swimmer. When I ran cross country in high school, I was the MVP my freshman year. I was rookie of the year. When I played the drums, it was the same thing. And that story is a great story. It serves me because then I can start strong, and I have this belief in myself that when I start something, I get really good at it really fast. However, that story had a caveat, and the caveat was I have a strong start, but my finish is real poor. It happened in swimming. It happened in cross country. I was rookie of the year, and then I got cocky. I didn't train all summer. And then I fell behind some of my teammates. So I pushed myself too hard. I injured myself my sophomore year, and I was out almost my entire sophomore year from injuries. So that story had a double-edged sword to it, and it ended up being negative in my life. And of course, because I developed that story, I would create realities. That was the reality I created for myself. I got cocky because of my freshman year running achievements. And then that cockiness is what led to me getting injured that next year and fulfilling and being that self-fulfilling prophecy. So I'm telling all these stories so hopefully that you're relating to some of them and you're kind of thinking, what are the stories that run my life? And are they serving me, or are they detrimental to my growth and to my end vision and goals in life? So I want you to take a moment. You can pause this video if you need to, and I want you to write down as many stories as you can think of that currently run your life. I'm going to give you a moment to do so right now. Hopefully you paused the video and you took some time to write down a list of stories that currently dictate your reality. If you didn't, make sure to do so. That list is very important to be aware of, because the solution to any problem is first recognizing we have one. So if there's any serving stories, if there's any great good stories that are supportive of you, try to maintain those stories. Those are positive stories. Still recognize that it's a story, but you can keep it in your life. Most of them, I'd imagine, are probably stories that don't serve you very well, stories that come from lack of self-worth. Those are the stories that we're going to try to rewrite. So the purpose of this video is, how can I rewrite the stories that create my reality? I wish I could give you a magic pill. I can't. There is none. If there is one and you find it, please let me know. I'll pay a lot of money for it. The only real way I've found to rewrite our stories, it's a really simple process. It's not always easy though. The first and most important step is catching the story when it's manifesting. So the next time one of those stories you wrote down starts to manifest in your life, the "this always happens to me" phrase pops into your head, or "I always do this." As soon as that happens, do your best to become aware of it. Awareness is the most important first step. Become aware that the story is there, and become aware that you are starting to believe the story into reality. That's a thing. We will believe a story into reality. I'll never forget, I was on a hike with friends, and I had a friend, it was a hike we'd done many times, and he said, "God, I always fall at this part." And guess what happened? He slipped and fell at that part. Nobody else fell. It's not like it was a super slippery part. It's just he felt that he always fell at that part, and that's what he created. So notice the story happening. That's step one. The second step is real simple. Self-talk. Try to rewrite your story in your head. So when you're coming up on that moment and you say, "God, I always fall at this part," say, "Nope. I used to fall at this part, but I am very able-bodied and I have great balance and self-control." And then walk through the part and do your best to stay up. If you slip and fall, just forgive yourself. "Oh, I guess it happened again. Next time I'll rewrite it." But ultimately, you self-talk your new story. The third step, and this is a step we forget often, is acknowledge the moment that you've had a chance to rewrite that new story. I believe in some of the other videos, if my memory serves me, I talk about a story I've had for a very long time is money issues, and money's always hard to get. And it's a story that's taken me a really long time to rewrite. And it's very often that our mind tends to focus on the negatives, tends to focus on the things that are against what we're trying to create in our life. So this third and final step is to acknowledge when the story does go your way. Acknowledge when you have successfully had a moment of rewriting that story. So you have issues finding money, or you have issues attracting money into your life. You think that all money takes a lot of hard work and struggle to make money. You're walking down the street, you see a $20 bill. Don't just pick up the $20 bill and get excited. Be conscious of that moment and say, "God, thank you so much for bringing this simple abundance into my life. Abundance is easy. It comes effortlessly to me." So you emphasize, you use that positive instance, that positive turnout of the story to help rewrite that old story. Abundance comes easily to me. And every time abundance comes easily to you, you need to notice it and be grateful for it. Gratitude is an immense power, and it has great power in rewriting our stories. So use that gratitude, acknowledge those moments, and use that gratitude to rewrite the stories in your head. And I guess I lied. There is actually a fourth step. It's rinse and repeat. You're going to need to do those first three steps 10,000 times over the course of the next 10 years to really effectively rewrite the story. Because think of how old you are, think how long those stories have been in your head, and realize that it's not going to be an instant flip of the switch. No matter who you are watching, no matter what you've struggled with, no matter how many times you've let yourself down, you're not alone, and there are many people that can benefit from your leadership. It's simply a matter of finding them and reminding yourself that you are capable and worthy of leading. It's oftentimes that we think we need to be perfect to jump into leadership, which is not true. If you're shepherding people, you don't need to be 100 steps in front of them. In fact, it's usually detrimental if you're that far in front of them. You just need to be one step in front. So it takes time to rewrite those stories, but be patient with it, catch them when they're happening, Consciously choose an alternative that ideally supports you. Acknowledge when the alternatives go your way. Acknowledge when things come easily to you, when the new positive story is happening. Be grateful for it, feel the gratitude for it, and then rinse and repeat. And if you do that, you will be able to create your future. You will be able to craft your stories in a way that serves you.